Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Hunt Lift Eat podcast, brought to you by Hunt Lift Eat and Hunt Lift Eat Official. We're here in the new podcast studio with our guest, Jason Marks, owner of Team Easties. What's going on, Jason?
Not a whole lot, man. How you been?
Living the dream, man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make my backdrop look like yours over there.
Just go shoot stuff, man. Just keep
Trying.
going.
Trying
Oh,
to do this.
got to work that trigger finger muscle, you know?
That's right. If they're within 300 yards, they're done,
yeah.
man. I'm no
Well,
long-range shooter like you.
Come on up. We'll get that fixed. No. I just taught a woman who's never pulled a trigger on a rifle. She was hitting 1,100 yards by the end of the day. So I got you.
That's what I need. I need a good teacher. I think
Yeah.
I've built a good rig for longer distance. Haven't shot it yet.
What are you running?
I got it's chambered in 300 Win Mag, Tikka, Rough Tech.
Oh, dude.
That's my new one, and I got a can for it that came in last month. And Eric Larson, who's on the team out of Colorado, he helped me find a good dialable scope for it. So I got a high-speed Trichicon, I think 4x16 on it. Gotcha.
No, so I've got a Rough Tech sitting right here.
Yeah.
In the safe. It's my smaller gun. It's my 6.5 Creedmoor, but it is my hunting rig. And granted, I mean, I reload, and I went way down the rabbit hole, and I reload for the rifle. I measure the chamber, and all that crap unnecessary. Well, to me, it's necessary, but I'm highly confident, like on deer, shooting that rifle out to about 800 yards.
Wow.
My 300 in hunting rig, my 300, I'll send it out past 1,100, but that's just what I've got to work with up here.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I shooting long range is new to me. Not shooting long range, but hunting long range is new to me. I've been shooting long range for a while, but I was a bow hunter. I didn't touch a rifle for 10 or 12 years.
Really?
I started off with a rifle. I grew up on a rifle. My dad didn't bow hunt, but he taught me how to hunt. And once I started bow hunting, it just kind of, I don't know, I couldn't pick up the rifle anymore. I just kept bow hunting all season long, all muzzleloader, rifle, everything. I was bow hunting. And gosh, I figure about 4 years ago, I picked up the rifle again, and it just started feeling good, and I said, you know what, let me try something new here. I've shot plenty of stuff with my bow. I want to do something. Everything I've ever shot with a rifle's been inside of 300 yards.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I want to make it happen. The farthest animal I've shot was 535 yards a couple of years ago in Elk in Idaho. But of course, now that I'm trying to make something long range happen, everything's been like 160 yards, 80 yards, like all this. I'm like, come on, man. Got this $4,000 rig that I'm just ready to rock with, and it's like, oh, there he is at 80 yards. Cool. I'll kill him
One day.
But yeah, man, no, dude, you'll dig that Rough Tech, especially if you start getting into it a little bit. That is a wildly accurate rifle. I know several people with them, and for the money, it's just ridiculous how good they are.
Yeah, I'm excited. Did you do long range shooting with your previous job in the military?
A little bit. So we weren't a sniper team by any means. I lived with the snipers on every deployment in Afghanistan. But we were part of a long range precision team, and it was more reconnaissance than anything. So we were basically prepared to do it. But no, I never got to take any cool guy shots. I had a few buddies that actually, one of my 3rd Ranger Battalion, one of my best friends there, he was one of the killingest snipers in 3rd Bat. He had a skull and crossbones on the inside of his arm, and the crossbones, every time he got a confirmed kill, he'd put a tick mark. He ran out of room and basically just started filling the bones in. It just looked like it was black. I was like, oh, dude. But yeah, he got out and then got into tackling some human trafficking stuff and basically became a shooter for, those types of contract teams and stuff doing that. And it's, yeah, he's a different animal.
Yeah, yeah, for
he,
sure.
yeah, he's one, and he's something different. So,
That's cool. And you
but
got out and you have started your business and current hustle. And you've been on the podcast before, man. And we
yeah,
talked the clay shoot in the past, but Team Easties, man, and that's taking up your time currently.
it is. We're trying to, trying to expand, more products, bringing more products to the table. The obviously the elams that I started off with wasn't intended to be a business by any means. It just kind of started turning into that, and then with different eyes looking at it, caused me to have to go get it patented. And but since then, I've made a smaller one that's like geared directly for hunters. Um, it was funny. John Barklow from Sitka reached out to me, and he was like, "Hey, man, it was right before hunting season this year, Augustish, I think, early August." He said, "Is there any way you could make a smaller version of these?" And I said, "He's like, I'm thinking like 18 to 20 inches." I said, "How's 21?" He's like, "Well, that's an odd number, but it sounds, I mean, that's right in the general area." I said, "How's 21 inches? And instead of a loop on each corner, there's a big loop on one corner, and the opposite end has tassels. So you can kind of tie it off to stuff." And he's like, "You've already made this, haven't you?" I said, "Yes, sir. I'll send it out to you tomorrow." And
I
he texted me when he got it. He's like, "This is perfect, man. This is exactly what I've been looking for." He's like, "Thanks." So, but yeah, that's the little BLM. It's 1.2 ounces of here I am. Doesn't even, you don't even, it fits in my rangefinder pouch with my rangefinder in it. It's so
really,
small. Yeah, when it's folded up. But so that was kind of cool. He's been using that, and then uh, we released the game shaper for deboned game bags.
which is so
That's
cool. What a brilliant design, man, and
Dude,
concept.
there's been a couple of different companies that have tried to do them all with like heavy straps, kind of like a lattice framework type of thing that connects to, and it just hasn't really worked because everything's vertical and horizontal, and so you still end up having essentially the
Village.
bottom corner. It's still just the meat just spills out. And if you've ever deboned an animal, it just turns into a blob, man. There's nothing holding it together. You're like, it's like a lava lamp thing just
Yeah.
floating around. You just pray that you can cinch your backpack down enough, but it never is enough.
Yep.
And so I built this thing a year and a half ago, and we tested it last season. We beat the hell out of it. And I sent it down to the outfitter I work for after my season was done in November, and I put a couple animals in it. He put it through bighorn sheep, several aoudad rams, an ibex. I forget what, a whole bunch of crap. We put it through. It was like 9 animals before it ripped a hole. And I was like, "Oh shoot, 9 animals." And he goes, "Dude, your average human isn't going to shoot but 2, maybe 3 a year. It's
Exactly.
still good for 3 years, you know." And he's like, and it was a known weak spot. So actually, when it did rip, I had actually already built the second prototype and had fixed the problem, assuming, um, not assuming. I just sent it up to a buddy in Alaska who shot a monster giant moose, and he's guessing 150 pounds,
Oh my
and
gosh.
it was 2 game bags worth of meat. And they normally leave the bone in Alaska because they pack it out several miles, and it you don't have 150-pound. Hey, look at this bearded fella.
Speaking of
But
Alaska, were your
yeah,
ears burning, Carrie?
Yeah, dude, I totally spaced on this. I didn't mark it in the calendar. I
Oh,
knew there was something I had to do today.
oh,
Yeah, I
good.
came screaming home, man. I'm not a speeder, but I was doing like 15 over, just saying.
Oh, good. We were just talking about Jason's new game shaping uh,
Oh yeah.
that he's
game
using.
shaper.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Well, I mean, if nothing else, we can advertise this one as like the most random excitement, like right in the middle, just boom, Terry shows up out of nowhere and freaks us all out. The whole screen just moved up, and I mean, Um, but yeah, the guy in Alaska, he figures 150 pounds of moose meat in there, all kind of random scraps and a hind quarter and everything, and was able to literally bundle it all. It was two meat bags worth of moose meat, bundled it all together, and was able to get it all in one pack and haul it out in one shot.
That's a
And
big
he's
load,
sitting
man.
there,
That's
yeah, and
like,
and and he's always wanted to yank those freaking rear hindquarter leg bones out because they're
yeah,
so stinking heavy on a moose,
right.
and he's never done it. So they'd carry one quarter at a stinking time, him and his brother, and the guys are actually in I pretty good friend of mine now, Limitless Outdoors. If you look them up on YouTube, they're phenomenal. Actually, the older brother's a pastor, and so he usually does like a little 5 minute blurb of something, and it's actually really funny because he'll be in the middle of a stalk and just something comes to his brain, and he'll turn to the thing and like the animal's over his shoulder and you can see it, and he's like, I just got to tell you what's on my mind right now, and then he's like, all right, now let's go try to kill this thing. And I mean, they are the killingest two brothers, man. It's pretty cool. But so yeah, if you're a Christian and you like to hunt, those guys are a lot of fun to watch. Even if you're not, they're just a lot of fun to watch. But they took a big shot from Eberly stock out last year. Got him his biggest bull. It was an 8x8 or an 8x7 on public land in Idaho. And this is a guy that hunts private all over the place. And and then he almost died on a river raft on the way out. They packed in on river, just little 2-man rafts on the whatever river in Idaho, and they all about died. So it was just one of those like, holy crap, this story is going to go far, and it has. He's been interviewed by I don't even know how many freaking companies, Eastman's magazine and all kind of stuff, Bow Hunter, or all of them. But yeah, it was pretty cool hunt. But yeah, he was pretty amped up. He was like, dude, this thing's awesome. I was able to get 2 quarters and some scrap meat out all in one pack load instead of having to do 2 loads for it because of how this thing works. And I mean, Carrie, you can attest, rucking, you don't want the load at the bottom of your pack. So
Yeah, man.
it's inevitable when you're running a friggin' deboned game bag. It'll start and look all pretty and it's nice and vertical, and then by the time you're half mile in, it's all at the bottom and dragging you back. It's terrible.
Yeah, dude, it's perceived weight, man. It's like you hold a 5 pound dumbbell or whatever plate up to your chest. It's super easy, right? But then you
Mm,
start sticking it way out here. It makes it pretty difficult.
yeah.
And that's what I was talking to the outfitter that I was working for, and he was saying the same thing, man. Like he never debones a moose because of that exact reason. It's like it's way too heavy to debone this thing and then just have a big blob sitting at the bottom of your pack. So I think, dude, yeah, what you came up with, man, is going to change things for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm working pretty hard. I got a guy. I finally just broke down and had to spend the money. I got a guy that's going to help me with some marketing and stuff, and we're going to attack a certain company and feed on his typical followers. But he's a big shot and probably won't even notice. So, um,
Would you
but
like to
yeah,
talk about some of the challenges of starting your own company in the outdoor space?
may or may not have anything to do with what I just said, but yeah, man, honestly, like, holy cow, if I haven't learned anything in the last 2 years, starting a company, starting a small business, and all I was told before I started it in the outdoor industry was it's cutthroat. Forget your patents; they're not worth it. Like it's like I'm like, well, it's too late. I've already started a couple of them, man.
They're not
But
cheap.
like, yeah, and talking to guys that own their own large businesses that are already very well standing, telling me, they have multiple cease and desist orders out, and they're just getting told to f off by the other company, saying, "Take us to court." What you don't have time, we don't have time, nobody's got time. You're not going to do it, and they don't do it. But basically, long story short, product that I was trying to sell the licensing to the game shaper to a large company. The owner seemed very enthusiastic about it, and kept texting me. Every time he was texting me, it was about some kind of a change he wanted to make. Um, I won't say the name of the company because it's not 100%, but things are adding up to look that way from multiple angles. Um, but in case I'm wrong, I won't say it, but I'll say why I think it's happening. So multiple texts from him, and every single one was talking about it being a great idea, but he thinks that we could change this or make this, and all of his stuff was to make it lighter, which it's already relatively light. And if you're considering a 5 ounce piece of equipment that's going to save you 30 pounds in bone,
Yeah.
to me, it's worth it. I'd rather throw that extra 5 ounces in there. But if you're talking the guys that cut their toothbrush in half,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do for you. Throw a helium balloon in your pack. Maybe that'll help, take away from the 5 ounces. But everything was kind of, let's change this, let's change that. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And every time my response was, whoever holds the licensing has the ability to make small changes. And then all of a sudden, everything dropped. He blocks me on social media, won't respond to text messages, won't respond to phone calls, won't respond to emails. And he was the one texting me repeatedly. So it's even more strange that he's not responding to me. And then I reached out to a friend in a larger company, and I said, "Hey, you know this guy pretty well, right?" And he says, "Yeah." He says, "I know him really, really well." I said, "Here's the situation. Should I be worried?" And he goes, "Well, considering my last conversation with him was screaming at him, telling him he was a piece of crap human being because he stole several of my designs and put them up as his own company's product." He goes, "Yeah, I think you probably need to be a little worried." I went,
Uh,
"Awesome," because I wasn't even gonna release this as my product if one of these other companies bought it from me. And I basically I reached out to some people, and they said, get it on the market, start selling it, start advertising it, because if this happens and you do have to go to court, you can say, I didn't have intentions on selling, I didn't have intentions on marketing, I was marketing, I was selling. So, but yeah, don't think for a half second I won't pull the I'm a disabled veteran card. I will get that court on my side, by God. Don't screw a little guy over, man. I got time and I got nothing to lose.
I'll walk in with you with my cane.
that's
Dude,
I
right.
got this.
Sell
between
it.
your cane, you get that mustache any longer, you can just use that as your cane. You just, it'll be.
I trimmed it up, man. It's blending into my Alaskan beard. I came home and my wife was like, "You're gonna keep that for a while, right?" And I'm like, well, I guess I have to now.
She was about
Now
it.
you gotta.
Well, I hope for
Oh
your headache's sake that that's not the case, but
yeah. Well, we'll see. But yeah, it's been a lot of trials starting any company. I mean, gosh, and Luke's just running clothing, and I know he's pounding his head into the wall from time to time. With just, there's so much little trials and heartache, and spend money on this, spend money on that, and
they all spend
you
money.
know, yeah. And I mean, I'm running 4 products now, kind of 5, but not really a 5th. We pulled these headlamps in, and just to try to just get a little extra money, quick, easy money, which they did pretty well for a bit. I need to market more. So,
Costs money.
um, huh?
Which costs money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Which costs money. But what's pretty funny about this little headlamp, and I'll just go ahead and tell you right here, is I found the manufacturer that makes a headlamp for a pretty big brand that people spend. I won't say the company, but it's $95 for the headlamp. I
I
found
was one
their
of those guys.
manufacturer. Huh? You were one of
I'm
the.
one of the
I'm
guys
one
that
of
bought
those guys. I bought the damn thing a couple of years ago. I found it on sale. I was like, finally. So it was on sale for like $75, and I'm like, so I jumped on it. Well, like I said, I found the manufacturer, and then I started chatting with them. They said, we actually make one that's 750 lumens brighter than that 1000. I'm like, 1750 lumens. That's like a car headlight, dude, on high beams. And I asked for some of the specs on it, and it's a learning curve. There's a few things that I probably like a lock on it would have been really cool, but so it might come on in your pack if you're not careful and burn some battery or whatever. But um, it after all said and done, after getting my logo on there and the company, I was so blown away at the cost markup that this company was doing that I kind of laughed to myself and I said, well, I'm not going to do that. Like, I just feel like you're just a word that I probably shouldn't say on here, but like you have that much arrogance to charge $95 for something that costs what I now know it to cost. I'm like, I'm going to undercut you with a better headlamp and hardcore. So I'm selling them for $59, and they're selling theirs for 95. And I actually just got a really cool text message from a guy that bought two, and he said, me and my dad have replaced these, or these have replaced that company's your customer service, because he had a little bit of an issue with a couple things, and I took care of it the best I could. And he was like, your customer service is, I'm not, screw that company, I'm out. So I was like, sweet. So spread the word, tell your friends.
Does it have other colors?
Yeah, it's red light and white. It's got 3 different settings for red. Very, very low, which is honestly what I run it on pretty much all the time. It's like 120 hours on like low red.
Yes.
High beam red is pretty bright. I don't remember what the lumen is, and then there's a red strobe. But other than that, it's low, medium, high, and then if you double tap it, it's all 1750 lumens, and it's bright. It's real bright. So, I mean, I've been running around with a 400 lumen headlamp for years,
Right.
and it's been doing good. But what pissed me off a couple years ago, I shot an elk across a canyon. We went over to go looking for it, and my buddy found it. He had a 1,000 lumen flashlight, and I'm walking around with my 400 lumen headlamp. I can see maybe 20 yards, and shining it around, and he just goes, there he is. I was like, what? I'm getting one of these 1,000 lumen headlamps, and then I bought it, and then now I have like 500, 1,700 lumen headlamps. So,
Really?
But yeah, no, they're killer, dude. Not too heavy. I was a little worried about the size, but they're really not. I've walked all over. They didn't bounce or anything on my head, so it was a good deal.
Did you bring one from your recent elk hunt?
Yeah, I did. Didn't use it a whole heck of a lot. We did so much glassing. We just didn't really need a whole lot of headlamp usage. It's more just around camp on low beam. This mule deer hunt a week from today, I'm leaving to head to Idaho. There's going to be a lot of glassing, but we're going to be doing a lot of walking in the dark. So I'm really going to push one of these things to the limit this go round. But I had a guy ask me if it was waterproof. So I did a video of me just repeatedly dunking it in water, holding it underwater, turning it on underwater. I was like, I'm thinking it probably is. And then I sent it down to a buddy of mine. He was gator hunting in Florida. And he goes, I'll get you a video. And he tied it onto his fishing pole and cast it out and just reeled it across lily pads, freaking gator swamp, with it turned on. And it's just bouncing in and out of the water across the lily pads. And I was like, yeah, she's waterproof.
That's good.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but no, it's a cool little rig, but it's not necessarily mine. Somebody else manufactured it. I had some input on it and stuff like that. So, it's not my baby, but it's helping me pay for my other babies. So especially if I end up having to go to court.
There you go.
We'll see. That's gonna be fun. But yeah, if you guys want to start a outdoor industry, take a good, long, hard look in the mirror and make sure you're pretty prepared for all the crap that's going to come your way. If you're even, and I don't consider myself successful yet, but you start catching people's attention, you're going to get your crap stolen from you.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen. Apparently it happens to everybody. Well, I mean, look at bino harnesses. Right. How many companies make them? What's the difference between one to the other is very, very minor differences. Everybody comes out with something that's a little different, and maybe it's that one thing that you were looking for, which, I, in my opinion, I think the Kifaru harness and the marsupial harness are by far the top two out there. But like, I'm not going to try to change. I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel. You know, so I'm not going to get into the leg gators or the bino harnesses game or anything like that. It's too hard of a section of the industry to break into.
Yeah.
So for me, it's figure out what's not on the market, bring that to light, try to make it the right thing. And so far we've done that, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yep. And actually, I like what you're doing, man. Is you're taking stuff from the tactical world, from our backgrounds, and then you're putting it into the outdoor world, man. So I think there's actually room for more of that, to be honest with you.
agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we took. I tried coming up with some kind of a rig, and whenever I was trying to almost not you don't not a stuff sack, but like a cinch sack, bring everything in, but something big enough that I could put all my crap in and then cinch all my crap down. So I'd put that in like my rucks when I was overseas or in training or anything like that and try to cinch it down. So I just basically used a non-stretch stuff sack, but I would run out of room. And I honestly, I wish I had something like this when I was in the military, because then I could literally bundle everything, cinch it all up, and throw it in my bag, and then my bag's going to form to it, and I don't have to use my bag itself to try to shape whatever the heck crap is in there. um, but yeah, and I mean the markers. That's our VS-17 panel in the military. I just took that to another step, lightened it up drastically, and put infrared capabilities and reflective markers on it,
Yeah.
which VS-17s, it's daytime only. You got to throw IR chem lights or something on there or whatever for a night op. So I'm like, nah, you could literally throw a reflective run around that edge and call it a day. So and you don't have
Yeah,
to
for
catch.
sure, man. I told you about putting it out on the landing strip because we had a pilot coming at last light,
Yeah,
just so he can see the center of that landing strip, man. Like
yeah.
perfect.
No, absolutely, man. I've got a Canadian aviation squadron actually, and they're deployed in Latvia. I want to say right now they're doing some joint operations for Hilo stuff, and they're using it. My buddy is an Apache pilot. He was in Iraq, and they were using it over there. Um, there's just tons of uses for it, especially anything from the air, man. I mean, gosh, you know, I had a buddy of mine with all this North Carolina crap that was going on, North Georgia and Carolina. Uh, he was like, he was down there helping tear through houses trying to find people, and he's like, it would have been awesome. There's people that would leave half their family in the house because they couldn't get out, so they would leave to go find help or something. Meanwhile, a boat or two boats goes by, not knowing anyone's in that house because no one's hollering or screaming. He's like, dude, it would have been awesome if we could have just people had these and strap them to a tree or whatever,
Yeah.
just a sign of saying, hey, someone's still in there. Please go in there if you're able to, and um, but I actually reached out to try to donate some and never heard back from anything. I guess they were just too busy and I mean, I don't blame them. They were definitely busy, uh, trying to save people and stuff. But I wanted to try to donate a bunch of them and send them down there and get them in the crowd. Try to get them working. Even the search and rescue teams. You've got a guy on a boat, throw it out there for the helos coming in to see where the heck they gotta fly in or whatever. But yeah, the landing strip. I never even thought of it for small single prop aircraft or something like. But that makes total sense. So that's a pretty cool way to set it up. You're muted there, Carter. There you
Rookie
go.
move, dude. Rookie move.
The host.
Carrie was able to use him quite a bit up there in Alaska,
Yeah.
which sounded pretty
I
sweet.
did, man. Yeah, so I brought two of them. And I'm blanking on the names, man. But the regular ELAMs, just a
And
regular size one, and then I brought that mini.
the
And dude,
BLM.
we used them for all kinds of stuff, man. Like Alaska's, like you can see forever,
Mhm.
but then once you start moving in that terrain, like your window kind of closes, right? Because it's just nasty brush everywhere. And so we were using them to help mark like trails that we had blazed through. So we did a creek crossing, and it was a pretty nasty creek, and we were dumb and didn't have our wading boots with us the first half of the hunt. So like here we are crossing it barefoot and stuff. So had to find the lowest part, and so we were able to use that. There was a dead standing tree, dead spruce, and we were able to tie it up on there, just to kind of show where the creek crossing was. So that way, as we're coming back, we can find it again. We used it as like a no comms plan. At one point, I set up on a knob, and they walked about 2 miles past me on a higher knob. And again, terrain was super nasty. I actually fell in like the only flat part of the waterfall and got water in my boots, which was awesome.
Oh,
But we were able to use those panels. They were able to strap it on them when we were getting ready to conduct link up, after we had glassed for the day. They were able to come down. I could spot them through the brush because they had that panel out, and then I had mine. I had the bigger elams with me, and then I was able to wave them in to try to kind of talk them through the trail that I had found. That was a much easier trail than the one we had originally gone up. And so I mean, like we had a dude. I don't know if you ever play with mortars, man, but you ever see the mortar dudes when they're setting up the aiming stakes and they have all
yeah,
their little hand and arm signals and stuff they're doing.
yeah,
Dude, I was doing like those, like we had like pre-planned all these hand and arm signals from old mortar days, man, and I was guiding them into that trail that I was on, so they were able to get through the waterfall without falling in like I did, and it was awesome, man. And then at another point, we used them to mark where we had stashed our wading boots after we finally got wading boots. So
yeah,
we were able to find that pretty easily, even at low light. And then, of course, we had birds coming in on day 14, bringing on a resupply, and he was coming like right at last light, man. And so we're not risking him telling us he can't find this landing strip, man. So we went out there and marked that landing strip with that kind of reflective material up so you could see it.
hmm,
Worked perfectly, man.
awesome. Yeah, hell yeah. No, we I used it in Colorado. Uh, the guy that I took out, um, we used it to mark last blood, and instead of leapfrogging, we it was getting hard to find the last bit of blood, and so I'd tie it off in the tree right over the blood, and then that way we both could go out and start kind of gritting out and around that, and then one of us would find it, and I'd just tear it off the tree and tie it to the next one. But yeah, we use the same, the little small BLM one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my go-to specific for hunting, but um, yeah, we used it. We unfortunately we didn't find his elk. He shot it in the brisket, and it bleeds
Oh,
like crazy for about 60, 70 yards, and then it's drip, drip, gone. So, but yeah, he
sucks.
that was that was so frustrating for him, and honestly, me, it was technically like my first client, and I literally I brought that bull to within 12 yards of him. Come to find out, he'd never even seen an elk in his life in real life. The first elk comes in screaming, standing there 12 yards in front of him, full frontal. And I told him, I said, listen, if this is the style hunt you want, be ready for a frontal shot. Here are some photos. If you're confident in making it, it's a deadly, deadly shot. About holes about the size of a grapefruit on an elk. And if you can make that shot, in 20, 30 yards comfortably, do it, because it is devastating. You've watched any of the videos of good frontal shots, and it's
Lights out.
quick. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
quick. And I guess he didn't either look at those photos enough or just panicked. But I brought this bull in from probably about 300 yards away, thick aspens. He runs up, peaks the little ridge at 12 yards, stops and looks. I'm about 60 yards behind him. And in my head, I'm taking the shot. I'm going, and I'm videoing, and you can hear me going, draw your bow, just draw your bow. And I mean, he was frozen. He was frozen. The bull stood there for a little over a minute at 12 yards. And so I'm like trying to like throw the cow calls behind me a little bit to see if maybe he'll walk a little bit, maybe walk right past him. Ended up barking and jumping down the backside of the ridge. And so I could tell he was jazzed up, like he was on fire a little bit, because he came in, he sounded off to my bugle, and then came in charging. So I was like, okay, this bull wants to fight. He wants to take my girls. So I then acted like the timid, nervous bull and tried to push my harem. So I would bugle straight down.
Mhm.
I started walking the opposite direction, and I would bugle straight down to make it seem like the bugle was right there. And then I would throw the cow calls with my bugle tube. I'd throw the cow calls across down into the draw a little bit, and he couldn't handle it. He turned and he walked right back up, and he was apparently on a mission. I didn't get to see that part, but the guy that shot him, he shot him at 35 yards, and he said that bull was coming at you so hard. He was like, oh, he's scared and trying to run from me. Then I know I can take him. And that was what I was trying to make it seem like, was just I was timid and I was worried that he was going to take my girls, so I was trying to run my girls off, and that was all she wrote. He couldn't handle it, but yeah, I felt so bad for the guy. I mean, he's a hell of a whitetail hunter, and he's never lost a whitetail in 40 years. And he finally decided to get out for an elk hunt. Very first morning he was on deck, I put it right in his lap within an hour and a half of the hunt, and he blew it. He was just like, I don't. He goes, I'm questioning everything, like, dude, it'll be okay. It was a brisket shot. We ended up fine. I jumped the bull about 7 hours later in his bed and went over. There was just a drop of blood in his bed. I
No,
mean, and
Sam.
he ran like nothing was bugging him.
Yeah.
So, but which made him feel better,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a bear of a hunt. So, but yeah, and similar on that story, we pulled up at a trailhead, and he didn't say it at first, but I knew he was thinking it. We pulled up at this trailhead, and there was 15 or 18 trucks and camps there, and all of us were thinking, "There's nothing going to be here. Everything's blown out." And so I could see him. He was just kind of poopy and pouty, getting all his gear ready and stuff. And I said, "Listen, look around. What do you see?" And he's like, "Freaking trucks and camps as far as you can see." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "What is your first instinct with all the YouTube shows you've watched, with all the, hunting shows you've watched on Outdoor Channel? What's your first instinct right now?" He's like, "We're going to have to go farther. We're just going to have to go 4 or 5, they're all probably 2 to 3 miles in. We're going to have to go 4 or 5." I went, "We could, or we could assume they're all 2 to 3 miles out, and we hunt right around here." I
Yeah.
bugled that hole in 600 yards from the nearest truck,
Yep.
right off the road, right off the road. I mean,
You
we weren't
Yeah. You hear that a lot,
30
especially,
minutes worth of walking,
yeah,
and
guys.
that was walking creep style.
Yeah, they forget about it, man. And the cool
Yeah.
thing is to go in far and whatever
Oh,
nowadays.
yeah.
And I've heard plenty of stories from our friends in Montana and Wyoming that you forget about the pockets, a couple
Yeah.
hundred yards from the trailhead, man, and those elk might be there.
Yeah. No, it was, I mean, it worked out for me as the guide. It was a last minute play because we just didn't know what we didn't really know what to do. I did not expect there to be more than 4 or 5 trucks at that point, and the goal was to do a 4 or 5 mile trek. And when I saw what I saw, I just went, "There's no friggin' way." And we ended up calling in 2 bulls that morning. The first one was really really small, and then it never even offered a shot anyway. But he was brown, it was down type of situation for him, being his first bull, and that's the kind of tag he had. But yeah, that trailhead was bad. So the days prior, I was hunting, and brought my dad with me, and we apparently got lucky because the year before, apparently this spot had 10 or 12 camps in it, and we got up there and there was only 2. I didn't know any better, but we went and talked to the other hunters, and you know something else. When you're hunting public land, and especially if you're an out of stater, it's amazing how many of the locals will still hunt. You'll run into a ton of locals up there, guys within an hour drive, and they've been hunting there for 10, 15 years. And I'd say 90% of the time, they're solid dudes, and they appreciate you more than anything, coming up to them and saying, "Hey guys, uh, obviously you're camped within 500 yards of us. what is your game plan? Because here's mine. And these other two groups that we basically all kind of were like, hey, this whole area is it was both of their spots. They loved it. They went there every single stinking year, and I was the new guy. And I said, well, listen, I only got a couple days to get it done. I'm out of stater. I'm not looking for anything monster, but you guys put in tons of effort and time here. You know, they've had trail camera pictures since June. And I'm like, I'm not trying to step on your toes. And they're like, well, at the same time, we don't want to keep you. You only have a few days. But we all came up with a solid plan. And one guy, they went one direction, we went another, and the other guys went another. And, you know, communication with the other hunters is huge sometimes. You know, sometimes they're jackasses. We did run into one of those, but that was a whole different ball game. But you're on public, man, and it's yeah, you don't have to go talk to every single camp, but if there's a couple of them in the area and it's quiet, it can be worth talking to them too, you know. And I saw a big bull. We got there 2 nights before season started, and I saw a big bull the very first night, about 2 miles away. And one of the other guys had him on camera, and they were like, "Yeah, we're going to try to go up there and go get him." I was like, "Okay, I will not." So, you know, but yeah, it was a blast, and I ended up shooting my bull, and once again, so we were pushing several miles a day, going in and out of camp. We basically spiked out. We were pushing several miles every single day, and you know, seeing them here, seeing them there, wasn't really anything great. It was the third morning, and I saw two bulls, um, about a mile down the road, or not down the road, but a mile across this field. And I grabbed my stuff and I just ran. And my buddy was running with me, and we literally ran. It was like 1,600 meters or something like that, 1,600 yards on Onyx after, because I was curious. And I dropped in, and I didn't know where they were, but I know where they should be in the area. And I just started. They were two younger bulls, so I figured they'd be a little timid. And all I did was cow call. But I sat there and I kept going, kept going, kept going, and finally it was. My buddy hates it when the squirrels start barking because he figures, oh, I just got busted. And the squirrel starts barking, and he just looks at me and rolls his eyes. He's like, well, that's over. And I said, no, 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 no. That squirrel can't see us. It's barking at something else. And 2 seconds later, here they come walking right up from where that squirrel was actually barking at the elk. And I shot him. And so I was glad my dad was able to be there and experience it. It was a little tough letting him pack out the antlers and some of the meat, because you know you shoot it, you throw the antlers on your back, and he goes, "Man, you got me excited for this. I trained for this." He goes, "You got to let me put." I said, "You know what? I'm gonna let you put the antlers and a ham on your back. You go ahead and get up that mountain."
That's awesome.
But it turned out we didn't even know. I pulled up Onyx after I shot him to see kind of where I was, and we were 200 yards behind one of the guys' camps.
Way.
So we packed it out of there. We were able to get the truck pretty close. We packed it out of there, and here they came in on their four wheelers. And I said, "Well, fellas, I apologize. Your camp might start to stink in a day or two." But they were high five. I mean, it was, it wasn't jealousy. It wasn't like, "Oh, you prick, you shot a freaking bull." And no, they were high fiving us, and I mean, no different than if your best buddy would have seen you do it. It was really cool, and as opposed to not talking to them and potentially, kicking an elk out for them, or, screwing their hunt or something. We all kind of worked together, and it went really well. I mean, no idea if they got anything, because we were out of there on the middle of the third day of season, but hopefully they did. They were good dudes, deserved it for sure. But yeah, it was, when I say run, I mean run. We were running hard, and luckily most of it was downhill, so it wasn't too terrible. But yeah, in
Does that mean
4 days,
the pack out was uphill though?
yeah, the pack out was all straight uphill. It was worth it. The pack out's always glorious.
So is sprinting
Um,
towards elk part of your tactics that may be different than other people?
yeah, partly. Um, so I hunt really aggressively for two reasons. One, I'm usually very limited on time. I had 4 days to make my hunt done or to finish my hunt. Um, and I'm the kind of guy I really like to. I like coming home with meat. Um, and I was in a unit where I could shoot a cow elk. The bulls had to be 4 points on one side or better, so I kind of had to be a little bit careful on the bulls. Um, but after about day three, if it's legal, it's down with me. I'm holding out for that 300 plus on the first day, then 280 on the second day, 220 on the third day. Day four, if you're legal and you're in range, you're gonna die. So, um, because like I said, I only had 4 days, and then I had to switch over to guiding, and so I really just, but I've always kind of been this way. I don't want to ever watch an animal and then try to come up with a game plan and, let's keep an eye on him and see what he does. I'd rather just go for it and not, if it doesn't work or even if it does, I don't ever want to have to go,
I should
what
have.
if I would have?
Yeah.
What if I would have taken off after him? I try to cut that distance by 60, 70% and then come up with a game plan. My game plan is not watch him from 2 miles away, let him bed down. No, my game plan is there he is, mark him on your map. And if he's 2 miles away, get to within 500 yards. Then come up with a game plan. If he's 500 yards away, get to within 200. Come up with a game plan. And it's worked for me every time so far, whether it was elk, deer, moose, whatever it was. Um, Granted, I'm not hunting 350, 400-inch bulls or monsters. I'm about to go after some of the biggest mule deer hopefully I'll ever see in my life next week, but that's a we'll see what happens because it hasn't happened yet. But no, I never want to look back and go, what if I would have? And had I watched those two bulls a little bit longer that third morning and tried to come up with a game plan, turned out there was a freaking trail that dropped them down into a canyon and they were headed for it. And if I would have not run, if I would have just walked it and taken an extra 10 minutes or 15 minutes to do it, they could have been out of earshot. And that was not a trail I wanted to go down.
Yeah.
Uh, it was horrifying. And when I shot him, he ran towards it. I literally was just like, I was more nervous that he made it down that trail. Luckily, he only went about 60 yards and piled up. I couldn't see him, but I was like, I was thrilled that I smoked him. I knew he was dead. But was he dead within 50 yards or was he dead within 350 yards?
Yeah.
Just quarter and two shot. So I knew I got at least one lung. I didn't know what else I had gotten. I ended up getting two lungs. He was quarter and not quite enough to really make it a bad angle, but I was nervous because I looked at Onyx maps and I saw those topo lines and I went, oh, God, please no. But yeah, man, I am a firm believer in get active, get after it, come up with your game plan when you're in a comfortable location on that animal, not when you're 2 miles out. If I lived out there, it might be a whole different ball game. If I had been scouting this animal for 2 months and I know his habits in and out before season even starts, then yeah, I'll probably be a little more apt to sit back and watch him and go, I don't like it when he beds there. I like it when he beds there. So I'll see what he does tomorrow. I'll give that a shot on that situation, but I don't live out there. I live over here on the East Coast with you fellas, and we don't have time. We're going to make it happen.
It makes it tough, man. I was in the same boat, and I agree. And I'm not at a point where I can be picky yet, so I'm still in the vein of if it gets me excited, I'm gonna shoot it.
Yeah. I've shot some pretty good sized whitetail, and I still maintain I'm to the point to where I really try to let it get. I don't have private land, but not anymore. But I'm to the point, even on public, if it's not at least a 3-year-old, I usually let it walk. But I had a 2-year-old a couple years ago come in charging, grunting, chasing does. He was relentless on these girls. And I mean, he was so loud and he was roaring and raking trees. I said, my heart started fluttering, man. I started getting the shakes. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this over this 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And he came in and he provided me a beautiful shot. And I just went, you know what? You want to act like a big man? You're going to die like a big man today. And I double lunged him right there at about 40 yards, and he tipped over, and he didn't get any of that love in that day. But so, but I mean, if it gets you excited, dude, kill it. You and I talked about Carter earlier. We talked about a buddy of mine. He's just all he wants to do is kill big, mature stuff, and he doesn't kill anything but maybe once every 2 or 3 years. And if that's your thing, that's your thing. But I knew how he used to be. We hunted together since we were 18 or 20, and he got excited about anything and everything. I said, dude, I told him the other day, I said, you just don't really, you don't have the love for it anymore. I said, you don't get excited. He goes, nah, you're kind of right. I need to start living a little more, kind of go back to the old ways where I just go out and get excited. And if my heart flutters, I shoot it. And I said,
Yeah.
you'll be a lot happier in life. I'll promise you that.
Well, that can bite you in the ass too, because I get excited for any deer.
Yeah.
I saw these two young ones fighting the other day, and they were locked up, and I'm like, well, that one's got 5 points. The other one's clearly a spike. That's a 40-yard shot. I'm doing this. And Kentucky only get one buck tag, and I'm like, well, there goes my buck tag.
Yeah. Well, that was me in Idaho a couple years ago. Was it opening? No, second morning of rifle. We came up on a herd, and I didn't know what was in the herd. I knew there was cows. I saw a couple of big spikes, and it was an area I could shoot a spike. And it had been a couple years since I killed anything, and it was actually my first rifle hunt for elk ever. And I looked at my buddy. I said, one of these spikes might get it. He says, dude, just give it a minute, man. I mean, we were 5 minutes into that hunt. We turned this corner, found that herd, and we hauled ass and got to within about 500 yards of them all. And I was like, man, I don't know. One of these spikes might get it. I want to take a 500-yard shot on an elk, He says, just give it a minute, would you please? So, yeah, it almost bit me in that. I ended up shooting about a 280-inch 6x6 right behind those spikes. But I had the crosshairs on one of those spikes going, you're going to be tasty. So,
Yeah.
But, yeah, so it can bite you in the butt, but
Yeah.
give it
Well,
5
I
minutes.
just say I'm still so new at hunting, man. I need reps, so like I can't be super super picky.
Nah,
I
man.
can't hold off for those giant deer right quite yet, because if I do, I'm never shooting anything.
Well, especially with archery, right? Like it's all about
Yeah,
rep, man. And that's why at Georgia, we get to shoot 10 does. I never shoot. I'll maybe shoot one. If I shoot a, decent buck, I'm happy with. Um, but now that I'm getting into archery, I kind of have the bug now, Jason, and I get it.
yeah,
I thought archery was stupid before I killed an elk. And now I'm like, oh, yeah, but it's reps, man. And,
yeah.
does still get me excited. My heart will still flutter when does come in. Once I'm like, okay, maybe this will happen. But yeah, those reps are important.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. You got to knock the dust off too. So after season, I've usually got, especially before I moved up here, I had a little piece of private, and I kind of had a general idea what the deer did. So I was able to kind of hold out for more, larger deer for the most part. So if I wanted meat or I wanted to knock the dust off the arrow, I'd send it on a doe usually. But it's funny because, I mean, gosh, when you make that decision, at least with me, when I make the decision to take it, even if it's an 85-pound doe, once I've made that decision, all of a sudden I start getting the shakes, I'm like, oh man, here we go. Okay, we're going
Yeah.
to kill it. And,
Yep.
and then, come to full draw and you just got to go, okay, it's not a 10-point buck. It's just a doe. Relax, dude. But
Like,
and you
what
always
was that shot process again?
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
And everybody says, if I lose, and I agree, if I lose that excitement and that anticipation and almost anxiety in the moment, when I lose that, I'll probably hang up the bow and the rifle, and because it's just, if you don't feel that during the hunt, then you're killing. You're not hunting. You're killing. And I got a couple of buddies that just kill. They do their thing, but yeah, they don't get the excited feeling anymore, man. And I'm like, I hope I don't ever lose that. I think for me, it's I'm looking forward to my little boy, man. He's only 3, but gosh, he goes, Dad, I want to shoot an elk. Yes, thank you, God. I want you to shoot an elk too, buddy.
Yeah.
And, I'm telling him I'm leaving next week, and Dad, I want to go with you. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit cold and 8,000 feet, and you got legs this long, dude. It's not your kind of environment yet.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm like, please, please still feel that way in about 3 or 4 years. So I think for
It's
me, it's gonna be when I hand it off to him, the little, small gun or something, and I think I'll probably be shaking as bad as he is when, for squirrel or whatever comes out. Be like,
Yeah.
get it, get it, get it. So,
100%.
but
I've got
yeah,
two
man,
daughters, man, and I'm hoping one of them. Just give me one, Lord. One.
yeah,
That's it. Two. Yeah, lights out, but just give me one that wants to do it.
yeah.
Mine don't.
Buddy of mine, I handed that property off to in Virginia. He takes he's got two daughters, and they're into it a little bit. And last year, one of his oldest daughter got her first doe, and now it's over. Dad, I want to go again. I want to go again. He's like, yes, but not right now. He's like, right now I got a buck on camera, so you can't come. So, but actually, he just texted me a few minutes ago. He goes, I think the new one's back. So I'm like, okay, well, get in the tree then, fool. But
So, so you're
um,
heading up, what you said, next week to Idaho?
yeah, I leave literally a week from today, the
Nice, dude.
23rd to the 30th, trying to catch a little bit of that. It's the last week of season up there for rifle. I'm going to try to catch a little bit of that pre-rut. Hopefully one of those monsters sticks his head out. It's I was telling Carter, I've never drawn anything other than a general tag for any state, and I actually drew uh, a controlled hunt unit in Idaho that is apparently really, really hard to draw and highly sought after. So,
Nice.
gonna gonna have to try to hold out for something a little bit bigger this time. So, yeah, talked to the biologists and the game wardens in the area, and they said a reasonable sized mule deer would be 150 inches, but most guys are up there looking for 180s or better. I said, I don't even know what a 180 mule deer looks like, man. If I saw that, I would probably miss. So, but yeah, we'll see, man. I'm for the first time in my life, I'm actually going to hold out for something a good bit larger. I'll pass on the super small stuff, but
Day 3. Who knows?
day
Yeah.
three, who knows? We'll see, man. I get hungry after a little while. Luckily, right now I'm still working on a half a moose. I got about a half a moose left. I got that whole elk I just went and got, and a little bit of mule deer left. So I got a pretty good freezer. So this
Nice.
might be the 1 year. If no, it ain't gonna. I'm gonna kill a big buck. I was like, I might just go home without shooting anything. Nope, I will. I'll kill some.
Yeah.
So
Kill a big one and use that game shaper, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, dude, it was we ended up not even using it on this elk hunt just because we were so close to the road. I just didn't want the extra 30 minutes or so it would take to debone it. I was like, dude, we'll be at the truck in 30 minutes. So, um, my dad hauled out a ham in the head. My buddy hauled out the back strap and the two shoulders, and I threw the other ham over my shoulder and just walked it out. Um, Kind of bittersweet. Loved it because I didn't have to break my back, but kind of sucked because I wanted to test my product, get my own pictures. It's been a minute since I've been able to play with it, but yeah, I'm bringing the mule deer size one out for this trip. So 3 of us got tags. We put in as a group, which is even more shocking because only 30 non-resident tags are given out to this unit every year. So
Wow.
for the 3 of us to all draw them, it was a holy crap moment because it kind of kicks you in the butt when you put in for a group because they separate you a little bit,
Hmm.
and but if one of you gets it, all of you get it.
Yeah.
So one of us got drawn, and then because we were grouped, we all got to go. So I'd like to think it was me that got drawn. But no, man, we're all pretty amped up. Bringing a buddy that's never killed a mule deer, and then a buddy who's killed relatively small mule deer. It was his first and only mule deer. It was last year with us, and I mean, it was a great first buck. Gosh, beautiful, like 2x3. Honestly, looked about like the one you have behind you, Carter. It was
Yep.
freaking, I mean, gorgeous little first buck. Um, and that was a fun. We spotted him over a mile away and did my usual. I
Sprint.
said, we can get to that ridge right there. He'll be borderline in range, and then we can come up with a plan. And we sprinted. And I set up. I got up there first, and I set up, and I went, all right, we got to get to that one over there. And then I boogied over there, and then set up my tripod and videoed it. And he belly crawled up there right over the top and shot him at like 220 yards. And it was his second big game animal ever. And he went on the moose hunt with me last year. That was his first big game animal, but I wasn't with him when he shot his moose. So I got to high five him that afternoon when we got back in camp. But um, being there for for your buddy getting his first anything,
Yeah.
I tackled his ass. Like
Yeah.
the video is hilarious because he dumped it and I just screamed. I jumped on him and just started, pounding. I was like, "Yeah, you freaking did!" Just it was cool to see your buddy get it, and then to get it on video was really cool. So,
That's
but
awesome.
Well,
yeah,
I hope
man.
you're successful, man. It's going to be a good trip.
You guys got any more hunts this year? Or?
I got a lot actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm still trying to kill everything I can here for the next couple of weeks. I'm trying to get reps in, man. So I'm working on my guide license, and part of that's like you've got to be able to do, meat care in the field, turn lips, turn noses, do that whole process. So I'm trying to put an arrow through as much as I can here, so I can just keep getting reps. And then I'm hunting Iowa first week of November, and then I'll be helping Luke out in Virginia at the end of November, and then I'm guiding in Texas beginning of December. So
you're gonna be busy, man.
yeah,
Cool.
Get it in though. What about you,
shoot.
Carter? Got anything?
I killed a nice 8-pointer during archery season here in Georgia.
That
Um,
was awesome.
I'm picking up that elk from Luke next month. So I'm kind of on probation right now. I'm filling out some freezer space. And
Why do you think I started this company selling this crap? That's my probation. I'm retired. Granted, I got a decent pension and disability, but
yeah,
the wife's like, "Hey, you spent a little bit of money last year on the meat and the mount and this," and that's like, "All right, I got to bring in some more money. So buy from me so that I can hunt.
yep.
I need to be able to play my game." But yeah, no, I get the probation thing for sure.
Yeah, I need to either buy another freezer, which my wife would love, I'm sure, uh, or focus on helping other folks get deer, that's been my goal.
No,
You can always bring me some of that elk meat when I see you in Virginia.
I will. I will. You can have a ton. When I saw it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't wrap my head around it. The quantity is insane."
get you. What do you have, a chest freezer, or do you got a vertical freezer?
I have a chest and a stand up.
No, I got a chest and a stand up. That stand up made all the difference in the world, man. You can actually organize it a little bit instead of digging through.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
I got 2 chest freezers. I just picked up one from another teammate here in Kentucky. Sold one.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
I'm about maxed out. I got to start doing some serious eating.
Yeah. No kidding. No kidding.
Gonna pack the red meat on.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I think the wife's making elk chili upstairs, so that'll be a pretty glorious thing to go have for dinner this evening. It's freaking cold up here today, man.
Yeah.
I was mowing the grass. It was 48 degrees and the wind was ripping. I was like, this is miserable. But that's what happens when you live in freaking tundra, man. I don't like it up here.
Kentucky's cold today too, man.
Yeah, I'd still rather be down there. I don't care. Cold or not. I'd just rather be in the South, man. I miss my people.
Yeah.
But in all fairness, I mean, I know there's plenty of northern states that are nice, but gosh, I live in New England and it's just full of just pricks.
I love you.
And they're self-proclaimed, dude. They don't even care. They'd be like, "Yep, we are." I'm not going to get any backlash over that. They're all jackasses.
You hear that, Frank?
Oh,
that's right.
Oh, huh?
I said, "You hear that, Frank? Hope he's listening."
Yeah, no. See, true New Englanders don't consider New York New England anymore. It's Connecticut, Rhode Island, Mass, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. That's the New England area. New York's been shoved out. They don't like them anymore. But that's part of the prick mindset. They're
Right.
like, no,
Yeah,
you're no good. You're no good to us. We don't, we don't want you around anymore.
That's
So they shoved New York out, whether they like it or not. But
funny.
yeah,
Well, hey
man,
man, I know you got family coming in, man. I want to be respectful of your time and not keep you from them anymore. But awesome catching up
well,
with you.
yeah, dude, for sure. Oh, we covered a little bit of everything, a lot of randomness today. So it was a
Where,
fun chat, though.
where can
yeah,
folks
man. Sorry for being late.
No, I was glad you popped in, man. Oh,
where can
made my day.
folks check out Team
Got to
Easties,
see the
man?
stash I was talking about earlier.
Where can folks find your stuff from Team Easties and go buy a headlamp and go buy a game shaper and go buy an elam?
Yeah, please. So I can go buy animals that I can murder. And until my wife puts me back on probation.
That's right.
So, yeah. But, well, fellas, I appreciate you having me on. It was a good chat. And we'll talk, Carter, we'll talk a little bit more about Alaska here, potentially.
Sounds good, man.
So, yeah.
Yeah, man. And
All right.
teameasties.com, right?
Yep.
There you go.
Teameasties.com. And
I'm
yeah,
about to go get a headlamp.
we're on
Same.
the Instagrams too. So that's where myself, and I try to market. And I'm not good at it. So, be patient with me. But,
We appreciate it,
well,
dude.
fellas,
What you
yeah,
do.
appreciate you guys. I'll
Yeah.
see y'all soon.
All right, man. Listeners,
All
go
right.
check out Team Easties. We'll talk to you guys next week.